Most business owners insure the things they can touch. The building, the tools, the inventory, the vehicles, the computers, the brand. But there's one asset that rarely gets protected properly, and it's the one your business often can't survive without. You. Today we're talking about the side of life insurance most entrepreneurs never hear about, the practical business side. Not just something happens and the family gets a check, but how life insurance can keep a company alive, keep a family stable, and keep a legacy from turning into a financial crisis. If you're an entrepreneur, a side hustler, self-employed, or simply the person your family relies on, this is for you. Welcome back to Wiseside Life Legacy, the show that helps families, professionals, and business owners protect what matters and build what lasts. I'm your host, Nakel Nikiema, founder of Wiseside Financial and Insurance Solutions. Every week, we break down real-world stories, smart strategies, and practical next steps so you can create clarity, confidence, and long-term protection for the people you love. And let me tell you why today's episode matters so much. If you run a business, if you have a side hustle that brings in real income, if you're self-employed and don't have the benefits package a traditional job might offer, or if your household depends heavily on what you earn, then this conversation isn't optional. Because when you're the engine of your business, protecting you is protecting your family. So let's get into it. Here's the hidden risk most business owners ignore. When I sit down with entrepreneurs, I ask a simple question. If something happened to you tomorrow, what happens to the business? And usually there's a pause. Sometimes it's a long pause, not because they don't care, but because no one has forced them to really think it through. The day-to-day is loud. Customers, payroll, vendors, taxes, marketing, keeping the lights on. And in the middle of all that, the what-if conversation gets pushed to later. But the truth is pretty straightforward. Your business doesn't run without you. Even if you have a team, many businesses still depend on the owner for vision, for sales, for client relationships, for quality control, for decision-making, or simply for the confidence that everything is going to get handled. Your income stops without you. If you're a business owner, you probably don't have a guaranteed paycheck sitting there waiting. You're not clocking in for someone else. If you're not here, the revenue you generate often pauses immediately. And your family loses stability without you. Even if your spouse works, even if you've saved some money, even if things are fine, the loss of a primary income earner can shift everything. The mortgage decision, the kids' activities, whether college is possible, whether retirement is delayed, whether the family has to sell something quickly just to stay afloat. Yet, many business owners still operate with no life insurance, no disability protection, no succession plan, and no backup strategy. They're building something impressive, but leaving the foundation exposed. And to be clear, this isn't about fear. This is about responsibility. It's about building wisely. So why does life insurance matter for business owners in a way that's different from employees? Because for a business owner, life insurance isn't just a family product. It's also a business tool. It's a financial lever that can protect multiple parts of your life at the same time. Let's break down what it can do in real terms. First, it can replace your income. If you're self-employed, there is no employer-sponsored life insurance policy automatically sitting there. There's no HR department that enrolled you for 1 or 2 times your salary. If your household depends on your income, then you need a plan that replaces that income, at least for a certain period of time, so your family isn't forced into decisions under pressure. I always ask people to think about it like this. If your income disappeared tomorrow, how long would it take for bills to become stressful? 30 days? 60? 3 months? And then what? Second, life insurance can pay off business debt. Business loans don't evaporate when someone dies. Credit lines don't disappear. Equipment financing doesn't stop. If you personally guaranteed a loan, that may now be an obligation your estate has to deal with, and that can land directly on your family. And if your business has debt and you're gone, who's paying it while the business tries to regroup? Without cash, the business can collapse quickly, and when that happens, the debt can become the final blow. Third, it can protect your business partner. If you have a partner, the question becomes, what happens to ownership if one of you passes away? Does the surviving partner suddenly own the whole company? Maybe, but how? Do they buy out the deceased partner's share? With what money? And does the deceased partner's family even want to be a part owner of a business they don't understand, don't work in? and may not trust? This is exactly where life insurance can fund buy-sell agreements, ownership transfers, and continuity plans so the business and both families aren't stuck in conflict. Fourth, life insurance can keep the business alive with cash when it's most vulnerable. Think about immediate needs: payroll, rent, software subscriptions, insurance premiums, vendor payments, taxes, and the cost of hiring temporary leadership or specialized help. Without cash, the business may be forced to shut down or sell fast. And when you're forced to sell fast, you rarely get a fair price. Fifth, life insurance can protect your family from inheriting business obligations. Your family should not inherit stress. They should not inherit tax surprises, urgent debt payments, or the pressure to run a company they never signed up to manage. A well-structured policy can create breathing room, and that breathing room is what turns a crisis into a manageable transition. Now, let's get practical. If you're a business owner, there are 3 types of coverage that come up again and again. Not for everyone in the same way, but as categories you should understand. Think of them as 3 different layers of protection. The first is personal life insurance. This is the coverage that protects your family, your household, your personal debts, and your lifestyle stability. Some people use term life insurance because the goal is straightforward: a strong amount of coverage for a specific time period, like 20 or 30 years, designed to replace income and cover responsibilities while kids are young or while the mortgage is still big. Other people consider permanent coverage, like whole life, especially when they're thinking about long-term legacy, lifetime coverage, and possibly building cash value as part of a broader plan. The point isn't that one is automatically better. The point is that your family protection needs to match your real life. If your family depends on you, the coverage can't be an afterthought. The second is key person insurance. This protects the business itself. Key person insurance is about this question: if a key individual passed away, would the business suffer financially? In many small businesses, the answer is yes, and that key person is the owner. But it could also be a top salesperson, a lead technician, a managing partner, or someone who holds critical relationships. Key person coverage can provide funds to stabilize revenue, recruit and train replacements, handle temporary drops in production, and keep the company functioning while leadership makes longer-term decisions. The third is buy-sell agreement funding. If you have a business partner, this is one of the most overlooked and most important tools in the entire business planning conversation. A buy-sell agreement is basically a clear, written plan that says, if something happens to one of us, here's what happens to ownership. And when it's funded by life insurance, it means the money is there to execute the agreement. So instead of the surviving partner scrambling to find cash, and instead of the deceased partner's family being stuck with uncertainty, the plan is simple. The family gets paid fairly, and the partner keeps the business. No forced sale. No messy negotiation at the worst possible time. This protection with dignity. Let me share a story that captures why this matters. I worked with a client who owned a small construction company. Solid business. Trucks on the road. Equipment financed. Employees depending on regular jobs. Clients calling because they trusted his work. From the outside, everything looked successful. But when we talked, it became clear he had protected the business assets, vehicles, tools, insurance for the company operations, but he hadn't protected himself. And then, unexpectedly, he passed away. Within about 90 days, the business collapsed. Not because people didn't care, not because the work wasn't good, but because the cash flow couldn't handle the shock. Clients didn't know who was in charge. Employees needed direction and paychecks. Bills kept coming. The loans didn't pause. The equipment still had payments due. And the person who held it all together wasn't there. His wife said something to me that I'll never forget. She said, "I didn't just lose my husband. I lost our income, our business, and our future. That's the part people don't see." When there's no plan, grief and financial pressure hit at the same time. And the hard truth is, a simple personal life insurance plan and a key person policy could have created enough stability for her to choose what happened next. Maybe keep the business. Maybe sell it properly. Maybe hire management. Maybe wind it down in an organized way. But at least it would have been a choice. That's why these conversations matter. Life insurance is not just a payout. It's options. It's time. It's control when life feels out of control. So how do you know what you actually need? Let's make it simple and practical. Start with your business structure and your responsibilities. If you're a solo entrepreneur, you typically need personal life insurance focused on income replacement. Because if you're the only one generating revenue, your household is directly tied to your ability to work. Ask yourself, if I wasn't here, how long would my family need financial support to keep their life stable? Think in years, not weeks. If you have employees, you should look seriously at key person insurance. Because employees depend on the continuity of the business, and the business depends on stable cash flow. Key person coverage can create the funds needed to keep that continuity. If you have a partner, prioritize a buy-sell agreement funded with life insurance. This is where you reduce future conflict. It's where you protect your family from being pulled into business negotiations, and you protect your partner from being forced to take on an unexpected co-owner. If you have business debt, you need coverage that is realistic about those liabilities. That doesn't always mean you match every dollar exactly, but you want to make sure debt does not become a burden that forces a fire sale. And if your family depends on your business income, then you likely need a layered strategy. Not just one policy and you're done. Layered means you're protecting the household, protecting the business, and aligning it with how your money actually flows. Here's a helpful question. Where would the financial pressure hit first? At home or in the business? In many cases, it hits both. That's why a single, simple plan often isn't enough for entrepreneurs. Now for a practical takeaway you can use today. Ask yourself this: if I'm the engine of my business, what happens if the engine stops? And be honest, not optimistic, not we'll figure it out. What is the plan? Because your business is an asset. You've built it, invested in it, sacrificed for it. And your family is your legacy. They're the reason so many of you work as hard as you do. Life insurance, when designed correctly, can protect both. It can keep your family from being forced into financial survival mode, and it can keep your business from being forced into a quick shutdown or a rush sale. This is not about betting on the worst. It's about building a backstop for what you've already built with so much effort. If you're listening and you want clarity, like how much coverage you need, which type of policies fit your exact situation, or how to protect both your business and your family without overcomplicating things, come visit wisesidefinancial.com or reach out directly. My goal is to help you put a plan in place that's practical, understandable, and aligned with where you're trying to go. Not just for today, but for the long term. Thank you for spending this time with me on Wiseside Life and Legacy. Remember, protecting your business is protecting your family, and protecting your family is protecting your legacy. Stay wise, stay covered, and stay committed to what matters most.